Hey, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here but you know me probably as Pajama Gramma in my pajamas with Supersize Your Business broadcast. And this is our podcast where we talk to business owners that want to grow and expand in whatever way is necessary for you to take your business to the next level. And today we have the beautiful Karina Pardus with us, and she is going to talk to us about custom music for our websites and for our podcasts and for whatever else we need them for. So welcome, Karina. It's so nice to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about why music, what got you involved with composition, how you do it, why you do it, a little bit about your backstory and why you think it's important to help change the world one composition at a time?
Yes, definitely. So I have been playing the piano for over 28 years. I've been doing it since I was a little kid, and I loved it. I was always drawn to music somehow. My son is begging to come in with me.
Let him in.
Hi.
Come say hi. I always like it when the kids come.
Yes, they're so fun.
I spent a year with my granddaughter at my Italian food manufacturing business. And the USDA liked it, but the FDA did not. She came there ever, so it was pretty entertaining. They're like, she might put Cheerios into the food manufacturing line. I'm like, I don't think so. But okay.
Yeah, no, this is my youngest of three.
Bring the kids. Nice to meet you.
Yes. So, always been super into music, played multiple instruments growing up, and then when I went to college, I got my degree in piano performance and started teaching piano lessons. I've been teaching piano lessons for over 15 years now, and I've been composing for over 10 years, but it was always just kind of something fun that I did and didn't really think about, about doing it as a business until just a little bit ago. I started my business 9 months ago, and it was because I was talking to one of my friends who's like, I can never find good music for my podcast. Like, it takes forever. You scan these sites and you waste hours and hours and hours doing it, and then you find something that might be good enough but isn't exactly what you want. And I was like, I could write music. Like, what kind of music do you want? And that kind of just sparked the idea that if one person is looking for this, so are lots of other people, and I would love to help them out with it, because music is an amazing thing, and it connects us to each other faster than anything else. So if you look at how long it takes for your brain to register an emotion or to be able to decide what you think or feel about something or someone, it takes considerably longer to do that to a visual image or to reading words or to listening to someone speak than music. With music, it takes less than 3 seconds for your brain to register an emotion and to tell your entire body, this is what you feel about it.
That's so true, because, I can't even talk today, but it's so true because it's a kind of a universal language. Everybody understands music. It's kind of like mathematics. Everybody understands mathematics and music, even though they might not understand the words that we're speaking. Both trying to convey in a picture or something. It's subject to misinterpretation, whereas music can just kind of short circuit and go right into your brain.
Right. And so with music, you don't even have to understand the theory or why it makes you feel that way. I mean, I do that. That's what I do. And that's my superpower, is understanding what kind of music would create what kind of emotions. But we all want to be emotionally connected to each other, especially in business, right? If you think about your business, the people that you want to attract to your business, you want to connect with them on a specific level in a specific way so that you know that you're giving them your best and so that they know that they can trust you and that they're going to expect certain things from you. And music from the get-go can create that connection. And I love people and I love getting to know new people. And so writing music to help people create those long-lasting connections that are meaningful to them, excuse me, that that's really what I love about doing music, is just creating an opportunity for people to find their tribe and find their community, and to know that this is where they belong, just because they know that the music helps them feel the way that they want to feel, right? So in every business, you have a way that you want your customers to feel, right? There's always every service that you provide has an emotion behind it. And the music can convey that emotion faster than anything else that you can write or take a picture of or use color combinations or anything else. Those are all helpful, right? They all do the job, but music does it fastest. And so when you have music in addition to everything else that you're already doing, then you are just creating the best opportunity for those people to find you.
That's amazing, because I don't think most of us stoic business type people and entrepreneurs, I don't think we even think of that or consider that. We know that we should have music and it should convey an emotional message. And I'm going to make a painful confession right here, right now. I've been doing my podcast since February, and I still don't have music on it. I don't have an intro or an outro. And as I've changed direction to Supersize Your Business, I mean, I know I need to do that. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, because I know it's not my area of expertise. I spent like 2 days when I first was going to do the podcast listening to music and listening to tracks. And I picked out like a dozen, had some people listen to them, and they're like, yeah, none of these are right. So I know how difficult that is. And then I decided, one of my friends actually launched her podcast in a week. And when I saw that, I'm like, forget it. I'm just launching it. So I just launched it without music. No intro, no outro. And I know I need to add those things, but it just seems overwhelming to try to find something that fits, like you said, to do that emotional match to what I want people to feel when they come to the podcast versus what's out there, because nothing really feels right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Because if you think about it with your brand, you know, people think so much about their logo, their website, or their podcast, wherever you're hosting it, what that looks like visually, your color scheme, your font, your voice, the stock images that you have, you know, all the stock photography, your brand images, your professional photograph, you know, because having a good photograph of yourself is very important. You know, all of these things.
I don't care about that.
You know, and starting with what you have is very important. And it's good, because starting with something is better than never starting. Always, every time. But you should never just keep it with where you started at if you know that there's room for growth. And so you have all of these elements of a brand that people work and spend so much time on, and then it's like, oh, well, I guess I'll pick this song because it's the one that's closest to what I want, and I don't have time, and I don't know what else I'm doing, so I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm going to do it, right? And that ruins the hard work that you created in your brand. You know, all of that effort and all of that time and all of that conscious, deliberate thought should also be able to go into your music, because that is very much a part of who you are as a brand. And so, and I understand not everyone is a musician, and I don't expect everyone to be a musician. If they were, I'd be out of a job, right? And I know that for a lot of people, music is just so overwhelming. And I have people tell me all the time, I just don't even know where to start. I'm like, well, start by talking to me. You know, start by thinking about, what emotion do I want to convey from the very first second that my clients come and interact with my brand, right? If you decide what emotion that is, and you have your brand purpose already, you know, that is usually something that people already have. So if you tell me that, and if you tell me the emotion that you want to convey, then I can come up with something that will probably fit, you know. And I come up with a few options and say, okay, here's my initial thought of what could work. Here's a few choices. Pick which one is closest, and then you help me tweak it in a way so that it does match perfectly. Because I am not your brand, so I'm not going to know right from the second. But I try really hard to get as close as I can, and I think that I'm pretty good at it. And because music should not be a stressful thing. Music is supposed to help relieve stress. You know, scientifically, music relieves stress. So don't let that become a pressure-filled, stressful thing. I'm here to help relieve that, but still get you exactly what it is that you need from your music.
So can you give us an example of somebody that you've done this for or helped do this, that and how the process went? I mean, not your whole process. I don't expect you to divulge that, but like just an idea of, like, say I was looking for something for my podcast. Okay, I need to come up with what emotion I would want. I'm not even going to tell you how I came up with the artwork for my podcast, right? And here's the worst part. My daughter's a professional photographer. And so it's not like I can't get that done. I didn't make it a priority. So now I'm going back and I'm fixing my social media and fixing things like music on the podcast and I was really excited when I found you, and I'm like, oh, we have got to talk to you, because I know that I'm not the only one that just wings it in many areas of my business. I mean, as much as I'm strategic about the business part of it, as far as the branding and the ancillary things that I personally have never found to be that critical to my success or failure. But I mean, if I was a brand person, I would say just the opposite. But since I'm not, that's just kind of like the fluff and the frosting, I've always thought. And so now I know I have to get those, I got to frost the cake now that the cake is made, or nobody's going to buy it. So,
So
strange
there's
analogy.
someone that she was wanting to launch her podcast, and she was working with a friend of mine who was helping her learn how to produce her podcast, and he was teaching her through that. And then he asked her, he said, so what kind of music are you thinking of having? She's like, I just can't even think about that. I just don't even know what I would do for music, so let's just not even worry about that. And he was like, well, hang on, like, music is important, so it stresses you out, and that's okay, don't worry about it. Go talk to my friend Karina, and she'll help you out, and it won't be stressful at all. Because I try really hard not to make it stressful, and I know that music is its own language, and it has so much jargon, but I try really hard not to say things in a way that people would not understand. Because communication is so important. Music is all about communication, and so I want to be able to communicate clearly with you and you with me and things like that. So she came to me and said, okay, I just don't even know what I want, but here's my website. And so I looked through her website a little bit, and I said, okay, well, what emotion would you want to convey to your listeners? And she's like, well, she was creating a podcast specifically geared towards autistic parents with an autistic child. Okay. She had been a teacher in that field for a long time. She has an autistic child, and she just felt like there wasn't a lot of support for moms, especially single moms that had an autistic child. And so that was what her passion was finding a way to support them. So the emotion that she wanted was kind of a hope-filled, we can do this without drudgery, was kind of what she told me. Like, I want it to be fun. I was like, well, is it like, ha, we're having a tickle fight fun, or is it like a game night competition fun, or, what kind of fun is it? She's like, well, fun, like lighthearted and knowing that this is doable. Like, I can do this and I'm excited about the possibilities kind of fun. I said, okay, I can totally do that. So then what I do is I take a couple, like probably around two to 3 weeks to create a few demos, and I make all of the demos in piano just because I think it's easier to hear the melody and rhythm in a piano and be able to then assign other instruments to it, whereas if I already had a drum beat and like a guitar and like a trumpet or a flute or something, if I already had those in there, it's hard to hear a different instrument in its place for a lot of people. But piano is very eclectic. You can do lots of things with the piano. So I'll write it out in piano, and it'll just be like 30 to 40 seconds. And then I send these 2 to 3 options to you and say, okay, pick which one you want. And I actually have someone that I'm working with right now that she listened to them. She's like, I've listened to them every day for a week, and I don't know which one I want. I was like, okay, well, try listening. Like, get one of your videos up in queue and listen to the music, and then play your video right after it. And then try it again with the other option and play one of your videos right after it and figure out if one of those feels better, and don't worry about what's going to change, because just say which one feels right, because music is all about an emotion. So there will be one that feels more right than the other. And then we can hone it down together. After that's decided, then we say, okay, how much music do you actually need? Which for podcasts, it's usually 20 seconds of an intro and up to a minute for an outro, depending on how many credits you have and what you want to do for your outro. I've never gone shorter than 30 seconds on an outro, but they go hand in hand. It's usually some of the same music, just because then it sounds familiar and it starts to become more and more familiar to your audience, which is good. You want that repetition, because that's what branding is all about, recognition and familiarity. So then we talk about what instruments you think would work or would not work. Sometimes people know better what they should not have more than what they should have. I know that trumpet definitely does not match my brand, so do not put a trumpet in there. It's like, oh, okay, now I know that you probably want something more of a woodwind, like maybe a saxophone is way better, because that is so different than a trumpet. Mm-hmm. And then, if there's a part that you specifically really love or really don't love, then you tell me, and then I fix it to match each other better. Hey, you're fine.
You're live, buddy. The whole world can hear you.
I know, you're on camera. So then after we go through that, then I make the changes that you want. And, if I'm doing my job right, then we only need to go through those changes once or twice. It shouldn't be a very long process. And then I give you your music.
Nice.
And then you get a WAV file and an MP3 file, depending on what you want. And I email it to you, and then you can incorporate it in everything and anything in any way that you need. And
it takes a few weeks.
Yeah, it's about a month-long process in total, depending on how long it takes you to decide which one you like,
For some of us, that would be the worst and longest drug. And
that's okay, right? Because you want to make sure that you're doing it justice. You want to make sure that
it feels right for your brand and what you're trying to portray with that.
Right.
So question. On my podcast, I actually have different segments. So I've got like the business segment for Supersize Your Business. And I've got another segment it's called the Daily Scares Share, for people to stretch their comfort zones. Would you recommend that I have different musical segments for each of those, since they're different parts of the podcast?
It would be up to you. You could do different musical segments. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, Mom. I need a hug, Mom. Sweetie, what's the matter?
Are you tired?
You help Mommy compose music?
Yeah, they love that. Okay.
Yeah, of course I do. What happened, bud? What happened?
He's just mad that I'm not letting him rip some paper off the wall.
Oh, not off the wall.
It's just the little things that make such a big difference. So with things like that, then you could do different musical segments, or if you wanted to have one brand song that is consistent between all of the different segments that you do, and then maybe the last, so maybe the first music that they hear is your brand music, and they let's say, oh, I know that this is this brand, and then the last 10 seconds of it or whatever would change and be like, oh, and this is the business segment, and but that way it matches. Or you could do something completely separate. It really depends on what you want. If you want people to better recognize the brand as a whole unit, or if you want people to be able to recognize, oh, this is when I stretch my brain, or a bit of both. So it's up to you could do it in any way.
But why you do this business, and I already know the answer to that. Because he's right there.
Yeah, so I've got 3 kids. My oldest is 6, and my daughter is 6, and then I have a 3-year-old boy, and then this little boy who's 18 months. And I'm very blessed and able to stay home with them and build this business while I'm at home with them,
awesome.
Which is wonderful.
You like having Mommy around, don't you? It's fun to have Mommy home.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I was in corporate America when my kids were little. It was sad, but it was actually probably better for them.
each family situation is different.
Exactly.
But I really love, like, I feel like people need to become more comfortable with their emotions and expressing their emotions and connecting to each other through those emotional connections, because that's how we actually make friends. It's not just by knowing someone, it's by understanding how they're feeling. And that's when we start to create those lasting relationships with each other, and music does that. And music is helpful for a brand because of that. So this client that I was talking about, that as an example, who's starting her podcast, she started it and within 1 month was in the top 5 of her genre.
That's
which
awesome.
I was so proud of her, because she was working so hard, but it meant that the people who needed to find her were finding her, and the people, and that's not all just me doing it, right? Not even close. She's doing the work to get it in front of the people who need to hear it. But it means that those people who needed to find her were connecting with her quickly to become returning listeners.
That's wonderful.
Being able to get her message out there to change the world in the way that she feels passionate about doing. So, and that's possibility for everyone. It should never be outside of people's reach. And a lot of people get really nervous about, well, original music, that's going to cost so much more than Fiverr or whatever. It's like, yeah, but Fiverr's not going to get you the music that you need. And neither are all of those stock music sites, because you don't want your podcast to sound like a Facebook ad video, because that's where they get their music, is from those stock music sites. You need something original to you. And the music that I write is all royalty free and is original to your brand and to no one else's, because I sell you the license basically so that you are in charge of the music and how it is used. And I don't ever use it again unless you really want to have a limited use license. Then it can be cheaper, but that means I can sell the music to someone else. And that's just not what you want for brand recognition. And so I try to make it as affordable as possible, in a way that is beneficial to everyone involved.
Nice. Well, how can people get in touch with you? I actually pulled up your Facebook page, but is that the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my Facebook business page is Koi Compositions, COY Compositions. So facebook.com/Koi Compositions. And you can find my music on YouTube and SoundCloud, also under Koi Compositions, on Twitter or whatever. But the best way to reach out to me is through the message function on the Facebook link right there in front of you. So if you go there and click message, then you can message me and we can start a conversation about what you need. And if you're terrified of music, tell me, and I will help you overcome that fear. Because it does not need to be a scary thing. It does not need to be outside of your reach. You deserve to have your message out there, and music is one of the best ways that I know to help that happen.
That is fantastic. Well, little buddy, thanks for joining us today. Nice. Can you give us one big smile? Yes. What a horrible little guy. You help your mommy write all of us good music, okay? Because we need good music in our brands. Because I don't know that I'm terrified of music, but I just ignore it because I don't know how to do it. So I will definitely be getting in touch with you for some help with that. Can you say bye, buddy? We're going to let you go, Karina. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.
Thank you. Yes, you also.
All right, bye. Well, maybe.